The fight against Ebola and equality of treatment. When we run the war, we do not do that to intimidate or to alarm people, but we do it to prepare them. Saying goes, once the war does not kill, paralyze, or disable, but an announcement to run them. Being a nurse, I have a moral, ethical, and professional obligation to educate people about contagious diseases, to prepare the people. We must tell the truth. We need to declare the danger that threatens them. To help them, they should be trained so that they are ready to face the danger that threatens them. It's said on television that the Ebola virus is not easy to catch. This information is not correct. It does not help people. In reality, all infectious diseases could be transmitted or contaminated. To avoid to being infected, to help the public, they must be informed about the sources of the virus. Ebola is a new epidemic, but history stated that there was an Ebola epidemic by the year 1976. However, it was isolated. It seems that the new Ebola outbreak is more virulent than the 1967 virus. Certainly, it is a dangerous virus. But do not be panicked. It is better for everyone to remain calm to control this nightmare. Balmontet said, a great calm confidence, self-event is his conscience. The world is facing a war, which is Ebola. If we do not unite to fight this enemy, it could cause serious damage in our world. Its damage could be irreparable. Ebola is not only an enemy of West Africa, it is a common enemy. An enemy of all living people, of everyone. We must fight with all our might, with all our physical ability, moral, intellectual, professional, and economic, to eradicate this virus. Otherwise, the world will lose the war against Ebola. We have to create a sense of urgency to fight this common enemy that wants to destroy the world. Until now, no scientist or doctor cannot determine with certainty the strength, the severity of the virus, and even the incubation period of the virus is under discussion, because one said that Ebola has an incubation period of 2 to 21 days that could be for 95% of people, and for the other 5%, the incubation period could be beyond 21 days. The UN warns the world is losing the war against Ebola. It is necessary to engage now to uproot Ebola before it becomes too late, because the history similar of Ebola could be similar with which of the Holocaust. To illustrate what I mentioned, if the United States did not long to take part in the Second World War, the Holocaust of Adolf Hitler could be avoided. In another word, we need to engage now to eradicate Ebola before it could be too late. Mr. Anthony Bondiri, the head of the new UN mission, said, "The epidemic is far ahead of us. It goes faster than us than she is winning the race." Despite all people are saying, we can win the battle against Ebola. We can eliminate Ebola in the African countries. We can prevent Ebola from scattering. But we must unite together. We must know that we are all human beings. We must be aware of the dangerous situation. Ebola is a common enemy. In order to eradicate it, we must become a common soldiers. Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, said Ebola can be overcome if we work together effectively. People of the world, we must unite behind a common goal to eradicate Ebola. The world is facing a decisive moment. The fight against Ebola has to be the case for everyone. We appeal to everyone to participate in the war against this virus, Ebola. Politicians should be avoid politicizing this epidemic. It is currently making false propaganda, blaming the President of the United States. This is not the time to seek to win political points. This is the time for Congress to finance money to prepare hospitals of the United States to fight Ebola, because more than 80% of hospitals in the United States are not yet ready to treat patients with Ebola. Nurses should be well trained, because a lot of nurses in the United States do not know how to remove a dirty glove from their hands. They do not know how to take off their special clothing, the gear that the CDC recommends to take care of the Ebola patients without contaminating themselves. 15 to 20 minutes in service are insufficient to prepare nurses to deal with Ebola patients. Hospitals should carefully train these people to avoid getting infected. The American government has a lot of work to do before many hospitals could be prepared to effectively treat patients who are infected with Ebola. This is not the time for the Republican to blame the Democrat, and the Democrat to blame the Republicans. These two parties should unite to win the war against Ebola. The fight requires involvement of all of us to eradicate this virus. Equal treatment plays an important role in uprooting Ebola. The health of a patient should be the primary concern of a doctor. Ebola patient, all patients in general, must be cornerstone of medical practice. All patients, rich and poor, must have all the scientific resources available if the government, the Department of Health, want to stop Ebola. In the case of Ebola, doctors, hospital executives must cease to provide treatment to patients based on their health insurance. By acting in this way, doctors could violate the Hippocratic Oath. If doctors follow the Hippocratic Oath, there could be uprooted the virus. Dr. Jurors by saying, "I give myself to the needy and anyone who asks me. I will not let myself be influenced by the thirst of gain or the pursuit of glory." It is imperative to conduct a campaign of education in every corner of the world to teach the symptom of Ebola to the people. Ebola has two phases of symptoms. In the first place, the person will have headache, fever, sore throat, muscle aches, low and height. In the second phase, nosebleed, liver failure, skin rashes, kidney failure, diarrhea, internal and external bleeding. Ebola is transmitted from man to man through contact with blood, secretion, by sneezing, body fluids, saliva, blood, urine, stool, vomit, semen, sweat of infected person, or by means of contaminated environment. Universal precautions include shake hands, hugging, are imperative to avoid contamination of Ebola. And hands must wash with soap and water. It is imperative to avoid having contact with a person, its object, organic liquids, which are contaminated with Ebola. Finally, scientists said Ebola virus cannot be survived on the surfaces experimentally or experimental, such as plastic, metal, or glass at room temperature. In another study stated that Ebola virus can survive for several hours at an ambient condition in the contaminated liquid drying or on glass, silicone, rubber, or painted aluminum alloy. Caution, virus is lethal. Thank you.